I would just try to buy a house when I'd have one going, I'd try to get a second one going, a second one, I'd try to get a third one going. And it's the same thing with any other aspect of life. If you take daily consistent action, you're going to get good at it and you're going to succeed. It's when you only go to the gym once a week and then it's once every month and you're like, why aren't I in shape? It's like, because you don't work at it.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
So today's guest is Mike Curadossi, and I actually know him from Better Life Tribe. He actually hopped on my pod one day, and so we started talking. He said, I want to be on a podcast, and here he is. But Mike specializes in Section 8 rentals, and he actually has a course now called Section 8 Done Right, and he's out of the rat race. He's financially free from his rental income, and so I thought he'd be a great guest to have on here today. So Mike, could you kind of tell us a little more? I mean, and we know you started 2013 with your first flip. How did you go from flipping? How did you get into flipping first? And then how did you fast forward to Section 8?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here and talk with you again. So honestly, when I was a kid, I was just obsessed with the flip this house, flip that house shows that were on TV. And I would watch them over and over and over again. And I just loved everything. And I remember telling my parents when I'd be watching it with them, like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm doing this one day. So I went to college. I got a degree in landscape architecture. I got out of college in 2009. I applied to jobs all over the United States. There weren't any jobs. So I started my own business as like a subcontractor to landscape companies. I'd do landscape plans for them. And I kind of grew my business that way. So after doing that for like 4 or 5 years, I started reading a ton of books and I was like, look, I want to get into real estate. It's time. So I started with that flip, but I started by reading a ton of books, setting up my own spreadsheets. And I always wanted to get into rental real estate. The flip kind of fell in my lap a little bit. I went to a real estate meetup and I remember like sitting outside that real estate meetup, not wanting to go in. So I was like nervous. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything. Like, why am I here? Like, these people are going to think like I'm an idiot or something, right? Because I don't know anything. But then I went in there and I ended up meeting an agent who sold me that flip, that it was his listing. And I met my hard money lender that I still use, like Elliot Schneider. He's like a really good friend of mine. And, you know, we still talk a ton. And if I ever needed hard money for a deal, he'd lend it to me in a second. So it was so important to go to that first meetup because it like literally changed the whole trajectory of my life, meeting those two people, right? So I ended up getting that flip. I flipped the house. It was the most stressful 6 months of my entire life, right? Like my wife and I, well, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, we were living in an apartment for, I think we were paying like $1,200 a month. And I was working there like every night after I worked for my landscape design company, every single weekend, right? Like just grinding. And I had no money, right? So I used a hard money loan to buy it. I got Home Depot credit cards. I used my credit card from college. Like I maxed everything out and it was really stressful, right? Like I learned how to install replacement windows. I learned how to install trim. I learned how to paint. I learned how to do all this stuff. And right before, like as soon as it was livable, I told my girlfriend, my wife now, I was like, look, we're breaking our lease and we're moving in here because like I can't afford $1,200 a month. So we moved into that property. We moved all our stuff in there. We were there. It sold the first open house. So I ended up making 60 grand. We ended up moving in with her brother because we had nowhere to live then for a little while. But after I made that 60 grand, I bought 2 condos as rentals. It's like, that was always the plan. It's to buy rentals because I wanted to live on my rental income, like always. So I bought 2 condos. We ended up moving into one of them and I rented the other one out. And then tax season came and my accountant was like, yeah, you owe, like I made about 60 grand off that first flip. He's like, yeah, you owe $20,000 in taxes. I'm like, dude, I don't have 20. I have $0. Like, I don't have, like, my landscape architecture company was great, but like I never had like 20% down. I was never like flush with cash. It was always just paying the bills. And like, as I made more with that business, like we had kids and you know what I mean? Like just the life creep, right? Like we bought a bigger house, right? So I was always like value add real estate investing. And especially after I flipped that property, it's like, I don't want to ever flip a property ever again. So I basically taught myself the BRRRR method, which is, buy, renovate, refinance, repeat. Right. And there was a mortgage broker at the time, this guy, Ryan, And I literally called him every single day. I'm like, hey, Ryan, so like, what if I buy it this way? Or what if I buy it that way? Like, okay, how do I set up the settlement statement so that I can do a rate and term refinance instead
Mm.
of a cash out refinance? And I can get 5% extra, when I refi, because I kept going over budget and then maxing out my credit cards. And then I refinance. And then I have, all the refi costs that sneak up. And I'm like, well, I need $5,000. Like, okay, it looks like I'll scrape that from like one of my other rental accounts. And it's just shifting money, moving money. And then I'd like get, so I mean, it's funny now looking at it, but I remember I'd get invoices from like my electrician like a month later, and I think like everyone's paid off. Like, okay, I'm finally like out, like I'm finally like not drowning anymore. And I get like a $5,000 invoice from him. And I'm like, oh my god, how am I paying this? Like, I have no idea how I'm paying this. And I call him like, hey Mike, mind if I like pay you over time, dude? Like, I don't have the money right now. And he's a really good friend of mine too. I went to his wedding and stuff. So he's like, yeah, no problem. Like, it's fine. And I'd pay him back as soon as I could. But yeah, dude, it was a grind, and I've gone on for a very long time talking about this. But hopefully, I answered your question.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So would you say you kind of shifted from the flip? So the second part of the question: how did you go from single family flips to Section 8?
So I flipped that one house, and I would continue to flip. Like, I'd probably flip like one house a year maybe, but that was just because I was so like, I went over budget on so many of the other ones that I'd sell that
cash.
flip, and I'd just take the money and I'd pay off my credit card bills or whatever. Right. But so I bought a property from these two kids, Tony and Kyle, who I'm good friends with today too. And I taught them how to do what I do. So they wholesaled me one house, and then they didn't wholesale me houses anymore because they learned like, why am I like, I want to do what Mike's doing. Right. So I taught them, and, but I bought a house for like 60 grand. And
if you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com, mindsetshop.com.
half of it was falling down. Like, it was really bad. So I went in, I renovated, I did the burn method, and I got a message on Zillow. It was like Zillow or Craigslist or something from a woman named Jody, who I still rent to today. And she's like, hey, do you accept Section 8? And I was like, I have no idea what Section 8 even is. So she explained it to me. She hooked me up with our housing worker. I called the housing authority, talked to them, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. Right. And I was renting to her for,
just stop for a second.
Like, what's
that?
Can
you tell the audience what Section 8 is?
So Section 8 is financed by HUD, right? Mm-hmm. So HUD gives money every single year. It gets administered to local housing authorities, and then the housing authorities actually administer the voucher to the tenants. So the process basically, right, is like, say, and my standard tenant's like a single mom with like a couple kids, right? So say a single mom with a couple kids needs help, right? They go into a local housing authority and they join a wait list, if they can even join a wait list right now, right? Like, all the wait lists in my area closed. The wait list itself right now is 8 to 11 years long before you get a voucher, which is insane. Like, think about who's applying for a voucher. It's someone that's struggling and needs help. So they go to get help, and they get told it's 8 to 11 years before they'll get a voucher. That then once they get it, they have to go find a landlord like me that'll actually accept it. Yeah. Right. And if they have 60 days, and if they don't find a landlord to accept it in 60 days, they can get a 30-day extension. Then they lose it, and they go to the bottom of the wait list, and the next person gets the voucher to go find housing. Right. So can you imagine waiting that long, then not finding a landlord who will accept it, and then losing it? Like,
that's a long time.
And yeah, it's crazy.
Mike, is that program capped because of money coming in, or because of housing available via landlords?
I mean, probably both, to be honest, but it's money coming in. So it was funny. I was told recently, I was on a call, and they were saying that how vouchers get released is actually they do audits of these housing authorities, and whoever's performing the best can actually take on more vouchers. So they release more vouchers to housing authorities that perform better. And this was actually told me by Wendy, who's my property manager now, who worked at a housing authority for 8 years. We built a relationship. She hated her job there. And then she came on to work with me, manage mine, and manage a couple other people's properties. So she told me this, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of shocking. I was like, how did you feel on the day that you found out there were more vouchers released? She's like, it's terrible. Like, we barely can manage the vouchers we have now. And then we get told that there's more vouchers coming. How are we handling this workload? Right. So I feel like it's a mix of things. Right. But then people have issues finding landlords that will accept it too. So.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've got a decent portfolio of rent houses, but I've honestly, because
You're
of
afraid
you,
of Section 8.
well, I read a book early on by Mike Butler, Landlord on Autopilot. And he did Section 8 for a while, but he got burned with the regulations. And so I read that early on. And so I just thought, you know what? I don't want regulation in my life. But honestly, I've done a few of your podcasts now, and I'm kind of like, and I have a good friend, Dakota, who's doing it. And I'm like, man, maybe this is better cash flow, better, more resilient, more consistent. Maybe I need to look into this.
I could talk. I mean, how long do we have? I talked to like 6 hours about why you should do Section 8, right? But so just very basic, right? So according to HUD, a Section 8 tenant stays in their rental on average of 8.75 years. According to a market tenant, it's between 2 and 3, right? The only reason, in my opinion, right, like, it's funny. I was talking to a landlord who's like an older guy, and he's like, "Why should I do Section 8? Like, I've done it before." And I was like, "Well, what are you getting for rent?" Like, and he's like, "My tenants have been with me for 10 years." I was like, "What are you charging them in rent?" And he's like, "Well," I was like, "I haven't really gone up." And I'm like, "Of course you haven't. Like, that's the only reason why market tenants stay in their rentals, because they're not getting their rent increased. Because if you did, they'd move, right?" So the good thing about Section 8 is that then market tenants leave, because if landlords go up on their rent, they find somewhere else to live, or they're saving to buy a house themselves, right? Or they move for a job or whatever, right? But with Section 8, if you do a good job screening your tenants up front, which is like honestly the biggest part of this business, in my opinion, you can get a tenant that will stay there forever, right? For 8.75 years, according to HUD. Like, these aren't my numbers, these are HUD statistics.
Yeah.
And you can eat off the floors. They're great people. They take care of their unit. They're appreciative to me for being a good landlord and answering my phone, right? And fixing things when they break. And I just tell them it's a very simple relationship. Like, you pay me your tenant share on time. I fix things when they break, and I give you a nice place to live, and I give you stability and housing for you and your family. Like, very simple, right?
Yeah.
And that's the relationship. I can go up on their rents every single year as long as the payment standard increases, right? So going back, talking about Jody at the property that I renovated, I was getting, I think, $1,700 a month for her unit, right? And then it had a garage, and I wanted $1,800. So I ended up writing up a separate lease to rent her the garage for $100 a month, so I could get the $1,800. So we were a little creative. I'll have to talk to my attorney and see how legal that is, but I don't do that anymore. But at the time, I didn't really care. So that $1,800, I'm getting $3,675, I believe, for her right now, and she still lives there, and her tenant portion of rent never increased because I went up on my rent, because tenants pay up to 40% of their income in rent and utilities. So it's strictly dependent on their income, not what I'm charging in rent. And I strictly charge what the government tells me I can charge in rent, right? Like, I'm not charging more than that because I can't, right? Then it puts an additional burden on the tenant and they can't pay it. So, like, I literally let the government set my rents. I increase rent to that amount, and there's no burden on my tenant, which is why they stay an average of 8.75 years, because I can maximize my rents, and there's zero incentive for them ever to move.
So that Section 8 has been your secret sauce for financial freedom, right? I mean, if you were not doing
100%.
Section 8,
I mean,
how comparable would the numbers be?
So in my market, and this is another thing I hear a lot too, like, people look up the FMRs, the fair market rents, on the HUD website, and they use those to, like, go search for properties and, like, oh, like, Section 8 doesn't work in my market. But what people don't realize is that the housing authorities set their own rents, right? They can pay between 90% of the FMR or 120% of the FMR. Okay, there's some housing authorities that get state and federal funding that can go up to 120% of those FMR numbers. So my market, I would say market rent for a 3-bedroom is probably between like $2,800 and $3,000. The fair market rent is $3,000 for a 3-bedroom, but I get 120% of that, right? 20% of $3,000 is $3,600. So I'm making $600 more than a market landlord makes, and I'm giving families stability in housing, and they never move, right? So, like, if you think about, like, a market landlord who's getting $3,000 a month, I'm getting $3,600. Right off the bat, I'm making $600 more a unit. and then they're turning their units every 2 to 3 years. And tenant turnover is literally the most expensive cost in owning real estate, period.
Absolutely.
Right? You lose a month of rent.
Yeah.
You got to go in, you got to fix things, you got to paint, you got to, and then just from a time constraint too, like when you fill units, that's your most time consuming job as a landlord, because then you need to deal with the contractors, right? Pay all the contractors, and then you need to release the unit, which takes time, right? You have to list it. You have to put together a listing. You have to call, answer the phone. You got to show it. Like there's such a process. And I don't really do that much. Once my units are leased up, I do such a good job initially leasing up to good people. They never move. So I don't have a lot of tenant turnover, a lot of vacancy, and a lot of expenses turning units that most traditional market landlords have.
Yeah. To dig in a little deeper into the Section 8, there is a little more regulation on the government side as far as getting your house passed, right? Is that an annual thing or is that a one-time thing?
Yeah, so it's annual. I mean, there's some vouchers that actually don't even have inspections. There's MRVP vouchers, which are like emergency vouchers from Massachusetts. There's state vouchers, and you just need to have an inspection done by the health department in order for them to move in, which is much easier to pass, believe it or not, than a Section 8 inspection. But yeah, so there's initial lease up inspections, which you're going to fail every single time. I fail them every single time still, which is just insane. Like I teach people how to do Section 8 and I still fail inspections because it's just wild. But I know 99% of what has to happen. My brother knows that now, who's my maintenance manager, and he goes in there, he does everything. They'll come, they'll find, I swear they're starting to get paid now on failing. Like for every failure report, they must get a bonus. Like it's wild. But you get the failure report back, you go in there, you fix it, they come back, they pass it. And as soon as it passes, the tenant can move in. You get a move-in authorization from the housing authority that tells you like the tenant share and the housing authority portion share. Then once a year, they come back in and they'll do an annual reinspection. And generally, so once you pass those initial inspections, generally you're going to pass the reinspection pretty easily. And like I had a failure report sent to me like a couple months ago, and there was a light bulb in the closet that was out, and there were batteries out of a smoke detector. So I was like, okay. So I texted my tenant the failure report and said, hey, can you replace the light bulb and put batteries in the smoke detector, please? She's like, oh yeah, Mike, no problem. Like I took the smoke detector down as the battery just because it just started chirping, and like I didn't care about the closet light. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So she did it. She sent me pictures. I sent that to the housing authority. They passed me. And like there's some things you can send pictures to, and it really depends on your relationship with the housing authority. But like those items, I sent a picture, they passed me. They didn't have to come out for a reinspection. Sure. But other items, depending on what it is, they might want to schedule a reinspection to come out and pass it, and then and go back. I mean, they're only going to stop payment. Like if you don't pass the reinspection, they can technically stop payment. Their goal isn't to stop payment and to piss off the landlord, right? Like their goal is to just fix safety items. And so they'll give you 30 days to fix it, come out and reinspect. If you fail again, they'll give you another 30 days. They'll come out and reinspect. I mean, it's probably going to take 2 or 3 inspections, and you just like being very negligent to ever not get a payment given to you. So, if you want to slumlord it up and just never fix anything at your properties, and I mean, you're probably eventually going to have payment stopped. But if you build a good relationship with the housing authority, which is what I teach, and like I bring them lunch once a year, like I cater lunch for them, and they tell me I'm the only one to ever say thank you, which I mean is huge, right? Like I want to be on their good side and thank them, because I mean, Wendy was managing, I think she said yesterday, like 1,000 tenants. I thought she was like at 700. Showed me yesterday it was 1,000. So each caseworker is managing 1,000 people. Like what? Like that's just wild. Like how, so, and they just get yelled at all day. So, if you can go in there and build a relationship with them and show them you're a good landlord and you care about your tenants, you care about them and work with them and deal with the headaches that it might be caused with working with a housing authority. And, I tell people just email them, just email them every day, follow up, and they're going to respond to you quickly. And they're going to know that when they see an email from you that you're going to annoy them. So they'll message you faster. And if you bring them in lunch, they'll like you. So they'll probably respond to you faster. So.
Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link. Mike, you essentially, though, went from flipping a house to financial freedom in 8 to 10 years, right? What were
Yes.
what
Yeah.
were
I
like
mean,
some actions or habits that you would contribute to that? Was it just grind, or was it?
I mean, yeah. So for me, I was very, very motivated to build something for my family, right? And to build a legacy for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I was already motivated before I had kids, and
Sure.
I wanted to build a rental portfolio. I wanted to retire, live off my income. I wanted to move to Florida, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, work when I wanted to work, which I do now, which is kind of crazy looking back on that, right? My like 25-year-old self when I started. But it's really just, I just set goals. I put them right above my computer. Like I have goals right here,
Yeah.
like a 5-year plan. And I just put my mind to it and I do it. Right. And it's not, I think you just need to take daily consistent action. That's really anything life is, right? If somebody's in shape and you see them walking, it's like, oh, they go to why can't I be in shape? It's like, well, do you go to the gym every day or do you go 5 days a week consistently? Like I've been going to the gym every day consistently, or 5 days a week consistently since I was like 14, right? Like I remember doing push-ups in my basement and stuff and like working out. Like I've been doing that consistently 5 days a week and I'm 37 now, right? So like, and it's the same thing with any other aspect of life. You take daily consistent action, you're going to get good at it and you're going to succeed. It's when you only go to the gym once a week and then it's once every month and you're like, why aren't I in shape? It's like, look, you don't work at it. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just a kind of like a good analogy a lot of people can relate to. Right. And like I would just try to buy a house when I'd have one going, I'd try to get a second one going, a second one, I'd try to get a third one going. And I just kept going and going. And then I started buying small multifamily properties because I saw the cost per unit, right? Like as the cost per unit started going up and up and up in my market, eventually it crossed the threshold where like, hey, I can't buy single families anymore. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't cash flow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started looking at small multifamily. I was like, well, like right now in my market, a single family house is over 400,000, right? So, and I'm getting between 3,047 and 3,600 for rent. So like those numbers don't work anymore, right? But I can buy multifamily for 250K a unit for 3 bedrooms. Like those numbers work all day long. And there's demand in my market for small multifamily because you got to think too, this is important. Like if you go into a market where you can buy a house for 50 grand, 100 grand, right? And you can buy multifamily for 25,000 a door right next to that single family.
Sure.
Think about who your tenant base is. Your tenant base is most likely, if you have a 3-bedroom, a mom, potentially a dad, a couple with kids. And where are they going to want to live? They're going to want to live in a safe area, and they're always going to want a single family home over a second floor unit in a 2-family or a 3-family or a 6-family or an 8-family, right?
Sure.
Unless that multifamily is in like a really, really, really good location. So if you're going to buy multifamily in that market, like you're not going to fill it with a Section 8 tenant because there's going to be single families right down the street that are probably rented at or below the payment standard. Yeah. So like in my market now, you can't buy single family rentals and rent them. So there's a limited quantity of those, right? So now people are forced to live in multifamily. And where I invest, like multifamily, they're good areas, right? Like I would live there. So, I'm having no problem filling my units and I'm buying at much lower cost per door, which is allowing me to keep I cash flow almost $1,000 a unit with any unit I buy right now, or I'm not buying.
Sure.
And that's because I know the housing authorities pay 110 to 120% of my market. I know who they are. I know everyone in there. So I know my end income before I even invest into a property.
Mike, how do you find out how much the authorities will pay? Because I printed it today, but how do you know that they'll do 120%? Is that just
so you go on their website and you look. It's pretty simple. But if you go, so not all of them have it on their website, right? But if you go to affordable,
I printed it up earlier.
Yeah, there you go.
There's my stuff.
And that's from the housing authority or from HUD?
I think this
where'd you go to get that?
I asked ChatGPT where to go. And I clicked on the link. It was something housing. Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was a HUD, but I think it was the Oklahoma HUD.
Okay, I'll tell you the right way to do it, and you can see how good ChatGPT is at giving you that answer, right? So what you want to do is go to affordablehousing.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's something called a housing authority finder. You
Okay.
click on that button, and then you put in your town, county, zip code, whatever. You hit enter, and it will show you housing authorities. You can then click on those. They'll have a link to their website. What I also recommend doing is going on Google and just typing in housing authority and then your county, your market, whatever, and just cross-referencing, making sure you have all of them.
Yeah.
And then just go on their websites and you're looking for what's called a payment standard, or sometimes they
That's
call it FMR for fair
that's what
market
this
rents.
is. That's what this is.
Yeah. So those might be good then.
Yeah.
And you also want what's called the utility allowance.
Okay.
And because those amounts that you get on your payment standard, and if the housing authority doesn't have it listed online, not all of them do, just call them or email them and ask for their most recent payment standard and their most recent utility allowance, because those numbers on the payment standard is the gross amount of rent you can charge if you include all utilities. So what you
Okay.
need to do, if you're not including like heat and hot water or water and sewer or trash or electric, like whatever you're not including, the utility allowance will tell you for, some utility allowances break it down like single family, small multifamily, like row house, townhouse, like they'll actually break it down that much. And you can go in there and it will tell you, like, you go across the line, 3-bedroom, hot water is $10 a month. Heat is
Okay.
$120 a month. And you just add whatever you're not including your rent, and you subtract that out from the payment standard. And that's literally what I will list my unit for.
Wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.